Very good morning to you, Statistician General, Mr. Pali Lehohla. Thank you for joining us.
Morning, listeners. Morning on this very good day of commemorating Kliptown and the Freedom Charter.
Let's speak about some of those ideals enshrined in that Freedom Charter. Let's focus on the economic aspect of it now. Where we are 60 years after that document was put together, our economy as South Africa, joblessness in particular, what does it look like at the moment?
Well, coming to the statistics, they are very, I would say, very depressing. Unemployment, 26%. If you look at expanded unemployment, about 35%. If you look at the proportion of those who are unemployed in there, the youth, they bear the burden of about 75% of their employment. The economy is not doing terribly well. But I don't think it's all gloom and doom. I mean, if you look at the Freedom Charter and look at the ideals, they actually feed and give meaning to the 2015 the post-2015 agenda, the Sustainable Development Goals. I think the contribution of the Freedom Charter to this bigger ideal of the world is very, very important. So I suppose some of these problems that we are seeing now of a downturn and everything are likely to be overcome by the depth of what the Freedom Charter suggests. But in reality, here in South Africa, unemployment is a big thing, and it's a consequence of problems of education. It was a very deliberate strategy to deprive blacks from doing what they would do best, which would be to fend for themselves and be employed. So the tasks ahead are very large, and the challenges, yeah.
The area where we're broadcasting from at the moment, Kliptown, used to be vibrant, a hub of activity, mainly with black South Africans who were able to have and run businesses here. Our very own Walter Sisulu, I believe, had an estate agency not too far from where we are now. When we talk about entrepreneurship in South Africa, and the figures there are also quite alarming, that most businesses don't survive past the first year. And so we encourage entrepreneurship. But even in that space, statistically, how are we looking? Are we becoming more industrious? Are we becoming more entrepreneurial?
Well, amongst blacks, not. I mean, unfortunately not. And this is a consequence of the legacy that we have had. The beat of entrepreneurship that you see amongst the survivalist industry, the informal sector, they demonstrate what is possible under very dire situations. But the systems that we are emerging from have been very, very difficult. Probably we'll secure inspiration from this place, which shows that it could be done had we not been disrupted by apartheid. And in fact, we have to double our efforts to cover the lost time, particularly to ensure that there is a demographic dividend in South Africa. The problem that has happened with apartheid is that it ensured that there is a demographic transition without a demographic dividend. So the democracy and the democratic transition that is taking place must ensure and guarantee that it doubles the efforts to capture an almost belated demographic dividend. Because in South Africa, the youth bulge has occurred, and we are almost past that amongst blacks without a demographic dividend. And I think the Kliptown, the celebration and commemoration of the Freedom Charter must essentially bring about a demographic dividend to the majority of blacks. And that's what this, I think, will be about.
The transformation agenda, absolutely crucial, especially when we're taking a look at the economy. The darker skin tone not represented as much as we'd like to see in the upper echelons of business. But perhaps we'll leave that conversation for another time. I would have loved to talk to you as well about the social aspects, the socio-economic. So access to water, access to housing and the like, and where we stand as far as statistics are concerned. But I think we have run out of time. Perhaps we can steal 20 seconds or so if you can quickly tell us where we are there.
As far as social delivery, in terms of water, sanitation, electricity, housing, there isn't a Marshall Plan that has actually surpassed what we saw in South Africa in terms of housing and so on. All those things, 1.5 million houses or close to 2 million in such a short space of time, it's short of a miracle. However, without the economic fundamentals supporting and paying for electricity and so on, those can actually evaporate. It can be very very quickly. So what we need is to get those economic fundamentals right in terms of employment, a productive labor force, reducing unemployment, and indeed creating sustainable societies.
We'll have to leave it there, I'm afraid. Thank you so much for your time, Pali Lehohla. He's the Statistician General.